In those days, John the Baptist appeared in the desert of Judea, announcing, "Change your hearts and lives. Here comes the kingdom of heaven." He was the one whom Isaiah spoke when he said, "The voice of one shouting in the wilderness, prepare the way for the Lord, make his paths straight." Now John wore clothes made of camel's hair, with a leather belt around his waist. He ate locusts and wild honey. I think he's the guy that you find at Whole Foods. People from Jerusalem, throughout Judea, and all around the Jordan River came to him. As they confessed their sins, he baptized them in the Jordan River. Many Pharisees and Sadducees came to be baptized by John, and he said to them, "You children of snakes, who warned you to escape from the angry judgment that is coming soon? Produce fruit that shows you have changed your hearts and lives. And don't even think about saying to yourselves, 'Abraham is our father.' I tell you that God is able to raise up Abraham's children from these stones. The axe is already at the root of the trees. Therefore, every tree that doesn't produce good fruit will be chopped down and tossed into the fire. I baptize you with water. I baptize with water those of you who have changed your hearts and lives. The one who is coming after me is stronger than I am. I'm not worthy to carry his sandals. He will baptize you with Holy Spirit and with fire. The shovel he uses to sift the wheat from the husks is in his hands. He will clean out his threshing area and bring the wheat into his barn, but he will burn the husks with a fire that can't be put out." This is the word of God for all people.
Thanks be to God.
You may be seated. And so John the Baptist, good old JB, he's not afraid to say it like it is. But we have to keep in mind that he's fulfilling a legacy. He is the reincarnation, essentially, of Elijah, who was one of the great prophets of ancient Israel. And so he was to return to prepare the way for the coming of the Lord. And so he's out in the wilderness, and he's telling it like it is. But the other thing we have to remember about prophets don't just start saying stuff unprompted. They don't walk into town and just be like, "Y'all are awful. Everybody out. Everybody's awful." They walk into town, they see what's going on first. They talk to some people, they take stock. People try and tell them, "Hey, I think you're a little," and then they start saying stuff. So John's out in the wilderness, baptizing people. Hence his name, John the Baptist. And the Pharisees and the Sadducees show up. And it says in our text, this translation says that they were there to be baptized, but really they came to keep an eye on John. They didn't like these agitators, these outside people that they're preaching out in the fields. That sounds really familiar to Methodists. Some guy preaching outside? Oh yeah, John Wesley said, "The world is my parish." It's a Methodist joke. And so John's out, they came out to keep an eye on this guy. He's a little weird. He's wearing weird clothes. You could buy actually nowadays, it's a coat. It's a really nice coat made of camel's hair. Leather belt. That's why I made the Whole Foods joke. Like in my head, that's who I imagine running into a Whole Foods, somebody in a camel hair coat with like a leather belt. Do you have organic honey? Okay. So, I gotta rein myself in. Moving on. So he's out in the wilderness, and he is just telling it like it is because they have come. They came to see what was going on. But they don't actually want to change. They don't actually want to change. Now, when I was growing up, we went on many a road trip. And it did not matter if it was a short one, about an hour and a half, or if it was a rather lengthy one. Infamous were my family road trips to Colorado. Now, if you don't know, I'm from the eastern side of Kansas, like 10 minutes from state line. And so to go to Colorado meant you had to go all the way across Kansas. And the further west you go, the worse it gets. And so there was an infamous saying on every family road trip. We just passed it. If you've ever taken a road trip, I think that should be familiar with you, especially if you took a road trip with small children. I just asked you, we just passed it, we just went over it. I told you, I said it's going to be another 70 miles, and you said you were fine, we just passed it. That's right. And so John is out in the wilderness, and he's preaching, and he's telling people, he's like, you're going to have to show good fruit. It isn't enough to just say, I'm from so-and-so. I'm a descendant of Abraham. Therefore, he's like, that doesn't matter. If you don't have good fruit in your life, you can claim whatever it is you think you are all you want, but that ain't how this works. And that's a big challenge to the Pharisees and the Sadducees, who normally don't get along as it is. But they came out together today in a show of unity to hang out because they don't like John. So they found a common enemy, right? How's that go? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So there they are. They're buddies. They're hanging out. They're going to stop arguing for one day. And so John takes this opportunity to preach to them, and he says, if you don't have good fruit in your life, then nothing else matters. Because he knows that the Pharisees and the Sadducees are going to say, well, we're descendants of Abraham. I am a Pharisee. I am a Sadducee. My family, and they could do the whole family tree, generation to generation, and show that they're in the groove, and he says that's not important. I'm sure all of you know at least one person who says, I'm a Christian. And then you look at how they live their life and you think, what? You said the thing, but that is not what you just did. Now, we all have our moments, don't get me wrong. I have my moments, and then I say to the person, oh, I'm a pastor, and they say, like, what? But you, and I'm like, I know. I never said I was a perfect person. But we all have our moments, but there's a difference between having our moments and then just completely ignoring altogether. And that's what John is talking about. He's saying, you guys have your moments where you think maybe you're okay, but overall you just don't think you need to change. You think you got it all figured out. I can't tell you how many times I thought I was good. Right until I saw that blue sign and it was too late. Oh, I have to go. Every time, without fail. And I would hear, we just passed it. We just passed it. Last week we were just trying to get out of the driveway, and this week we're just passing it. We're always just trying to do something, apparently. But we have to be careful because we get so caught up in trying to get to our destination, trying to get to Christmas, that we miss the journey that we're on. The Pharisees and the Sadducees are so concerned with the afterlife. They're so concerned with being theologically correct that they're missing all of the people right in front of them and the need. And they're not bearing good fruit in their lives because they're looking at the end goal but missing the meaning in the moment. They're on the freeway and they keep passing by opportunity after opportunity to change their lives, to bear fruit, to be good followers of God. But every time they think, I'm good, I don't have to get off right here. It's more important that I keep going. And they miss so much. And we miss so much in our lives because we're so focused on where we think we gotta be. And during Christmas, this is so true because we're so focused on Christmas. We gotta get to Christmas. If only we make it to Christmas. Everything will be perfect on Christmas. And it makes me wonder, what do we miss in our hurry to get to Christmas? Who do we miss in our hurry to Now you may say to yourself, I would never forget anybody. Well, on a road trip that I was not a part of, but that my cousins and my aunt and uncle went on, they decided they needed to stop. They were thinking ahead, but they had 3 kids, so they had to be proactive, right? They had to play a zone defense, right? Lindsay and I have 1 kid. We can play man defense and tag team. Easy peasy. They had 3 kids. They're playing zone defense, so they were headed off at the pass. They just got off and stopped anyway. Headed off at the pass. 3 kids. And so they get out at the rest stop, and they get, okay, everyone gets out of the car. Well, that's a whole thing in and of itself, right? Now everyone's out of the car. They got 2 boys and 1 girl, so okay, well, we got to figure out who's going where, who's doing who. So everybody in, and everybody out, right? Zone defense. Now, if any of you have ever watched a Browns game, you know what a blown zone looks like. It's when the wide receiver is 50 yards downfield and no one is near him, and everyone's going, I thought you had that guy. Right? Aunt and uncle get back, come out of the rest stop, chaos, get in the car, buckle your seatbelt, where did get in? Doors all closed, pull out of the rest stop. Okay, whew, we are back in the car, everything is contained. 10 miles down the road. Anybody seen Ryan? Ryan is the middle child. As if it wasn't hard enough to be the middle child. Right? I have been told that the middle child has a syndrome about being forgotten. Well, maybe this is why. They had the oldest, the daughter. They had the youngest, still a baby at this point. Where's the middle? Well, and they frantically turned around. It says emergency and authorized vehicles only in those turnarounds, but they made an exception. They pulled a Yui and they flew down the freeway. There was no cops, thankfully. I think the cops would have been okay, though. We left our kid at the rest stop. And so they flew down and they got back to the rest stop, and there he was, just sitting on a bench, hanging out. And they said, Ryan, why didn't you say anything? And he said, well, I figured you'd be back for me. But they were so focused on just getting where they were trying to go that they forgot somebody. They forgot one of their own children. And if they could forget one of their own children in their haste and their hurry and in the chaos, who can we forget in the midst of our haste and our hurry and our journey to Christmas? We have so many opportunities to bear good fruit in our lives. God is throwing opportunities to bear good fruit at us, like one of those tennis ball machines, just bam, 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 bam. But if we're so busy and hurried and focused on where we gotta go that we miss every opportunity, only too late will we realize that we just passed it. And that's the problem when you just pass a rest stop on the highway. It's real hard to get back to it. It's so hard. Kind of illegal half the time. And so we just go, we just passed it. During Advent, we are tasked to prepare ourselves for the arrival, but not to miss the opportunities to find where God is already at and where God is calling us to be. And so the Pharisees and the Sadducees come out to get at John with his weird clothes and his odd food choices. And John turns the tables and says, it doesn't matter who you think you are. All that matters is if you bear good fruit in your life. And so we may say, I'm good. I'm a Christian. But John's teaching, and our hymn said this, it echoes throughout time, his teaching. It holds its truth. He just says, it isn't what you claim to be. It's who you live as and for that matters. That is what this is all about. So don't rush to Christmas, because you might just pass a golden opportunity along the way. Amen.